On today's episode, let's see if we can save this old bathroom. So this customer doesn't have any cold water to any of the fixtures upstairs here. Toilet, sink, tub. This house was built sometime in the 1800s, remodeled in the 1930s, and it's just beautiful. But it's got galvanized pipes, it's under a mud floor in a bathroom, and we need to figure out if and how we're going to get the water to flow up there to that bathroom. And while we're at it, I want to give a shout out to American Plumber Stories for sending me out a bunch of merch. Got some cool hats, some hoodies, some t-shirts, and I got this Pfister Faucets bucket that came with it. And it's really dope stuff, actually. So nice that I spilled my coffee on it first thing this morning, like I do every time I get a new shirt. Anyway, back to the job. Like I said, this is a very old house, and it was built a long time ago, remodeled sometime in the 20s. So naturally, we're going to have a lot of pain-in-the-ass plaster and stuff inside of there that we got to rip down. And as it stands, we're kind of guessing on whether or not we're even going to be able to access anything from this hole in the ceiling. These places were built like brick shit houses back then, and so, sometimes things are behind beams or they're under the mud. There's not shit you can do about it if that's the case. But we're hoping that we can get to the pipes inside of the wall before they go under the mud in the bathroom and, hopefully replace a section of pipe to get it working. Now, this ceiling was an enormous pain in the ass to get out of here. We had plaster, we had metal mesh, and we had wooden lath. It took like 4 hours to get it out, but we got it out. And as you can see, we got our risers up to that bathroom. An enormous mess for the amount of hole that we created. We got to get that cleaned up before we go any further. And I suspected that the problem that we were dealing with actually had something to do with the connection from the copper to the galvanized pipe. So this is the cold water line going up with a dresser coupling. This is a compression fitting. And we have a section of galvanized pipe, and then we have this on there. I had to cut the copper out. There just wasn't any play to do anything else. And pull this thing off, and I got water coming out of there, so I feel confident that I'm going to be able to put a new piece on there and get the water flowing to the upstairs. Now, throughout this whole process, I'm like 18 inches away from this pipe, so this is actually a lot harder than it looks. I have the solder stretched out all the way. This is to be performed by insured professionals only, because these houses are easy to burn up. Hard to take apart, easy to burn. Anyway, it's not the prettiest solder joint I ever did in my life, but it held water. And the best part is now we got water upstairs. I mean, we still got to fix some stuff. There's definitely still a couple things we got to fix here. But it's cool things. Even if the parts are a pain in the ass to get, not having to rip this bathroom out is a big win in my book. And we rigged something up in the meantime. Anyway, that's a wrap for now. We'll come back to it later. See you on the next one. All right, on today's episode, here's how you make $500 in 15 minutes. And nothing about this ever winds up being 15 minutes. I just say that stuff to get your attention. But anyway, I'm working on this toilet from 1931. And I'm going to be putting in this curtain rotary ball cock. This is the only ball cock that I was able to find that looked anything like the one that was in there originally. And you can see we got a water line tied in through the top of the tank. Tank is hanging on the wall. It's an old toilet. That's the way they did this. Now, it can be really tricky working on these things because, you always run the risk that something could break or it might not work. And I'm going to have to go and turn around and go and tell the customer that, I'm going home because my toilet works. And there was like a piece of packing material or something inside of here. It was driving me nuts. The thing was not working. And the whole time I was screwing with it, I was flushing the toilet, filling up 7 gallons and flushing it again. And I hadn't really taken into consideration that there could be a leaking wax seal under here because it hasn't been flushed in, probably 5 years. Or maybe a drain, but I guess I got to pull the toilet and see. I've been having a lot of anxiety lately and a lot of stress, and it seems like everything I do to get ahead just seems to roll right into another problem that puts me right back where I started. It's a vicious cycle. But luckily I have jobs like this to remind me that there's no escaping that feeling. I just have to deal with the same exact shit at work. It's like a perfect fucking metaphor every day. So, anyway, I'm working on this sink in the bathroom from the 1930s. I've been here maybe 5 times now trying to get this thing up and running. And if you know anything about these types of bathrooms, you know that they were built like nobody would ever have to fix anything inside of them. And to the credit of the people that built them, they're probably all dead now. You can't blame anybody for work that lasted longer than they did. But so what they would do is they would put all the water lines in, and then they would cover them in cement, and then they would tile on top of it. So basically, if anything was to really go wrong with something underneath the floor, it's nuclear. At that point, you're just ripping everything out and starting over. And maybe that's what's best, but for some reason, we just keep being able to fix it until the fix is done and we find the next problem that negates the fix we just did. And then we're just going on every day like this. Working all day to ultimately have accomplished nothing. And maybe I'm just circling back to the other thing now. I don't know. But unfortunately, there was not a massive earthquake yesterday to level this house completely to the ground. So we're back here working. And this is the house from the 1930s where we had the drain line leak. And as it turns out, the entire drain line is broken. And I say that now with confidence, but I got to uncover that over the course of the day. So I had to go behind this radiator, pull this thing out of here, make myself a little workspace to get inside of there because the TY that goes into the stack was actually broken at the hub. And so we got this open, and I tried to make a little bit less work for myself. I was going to try to get inside of the hub right below the TY and see if I could use a street TY and a donut. But as it turned out, once I broke this out and opened up the wall below, we got another crack in the stack. So decided to go outside, after much deliberation, of course, and raising the price tenfold. But once we got that wall open, it was pretty easy to get to. Now, we tried to cut it, and I was breaking it from above, just taking the whole thing apart so I could start demoing everything. I got all of the bad pipe out nice and clean so that Sterling could go and break the fucking pipe cutting it with a Sawzall. It's a never-ending job. So, we're back to it tomorrow. Follow to see more. All right, it's Fernco time, everybody. If you remember, this is the job where Sterling broke the pipe and he ruined everybody's day. I believe that he may have been responsible for causing the other pipe to corrode over time as well. I don't know how he did it, but I think somehow it was his fault. Now, it's days like this make me wish that I had picked a different career. Becoming a plumber was like one of those hypothetical questions, like, hey, bud, for $1 million, would you crawl into a crawl space with an old haunted well full of asbestos and spiders and smash a rotten pipe full of 100-year-old shit over the top of your head? And I was like, yeah, for $1 million, I would do that. And they're like, great. We're going to start you at 12. And over the next 15 years or so, you should be able to accrue $1 million in debt. But really, I'm just kidding about all that. I only got about $500K in debt. And most of it's gambling. It's not even plumbing's fault. It's just that some days you're doing this job you wish you weren't. That's all. You know? I'm allowed to complain every once in a while. But anyway, we got lucky we had PVC down in the crawl space. We're just replacing all of this with PVC. I started tacking this lav drain that goes underneath the mud of the bathroom. I really didn't want to have to drill through the floor and reroute it. And like they say, where there's a will, there was a way. But Will wasn't here today. I think he was working with Sterling. But we got it done anyway. Got a no-hub on there. And it's Fernco time, baby. Look at that. You would do it, too. And now I hate to say it, but it looks like we're going to have to be back here another day because my toilet works. And I need to use it in the next 15 minutes or there's going to be a big problem. Anyway, guys, see you on the next one. Or just this one, but tomorrow. See you tomorrow. All right, on today's episode, here's how you make $1,000 in 15 minutes. And you are higher than Giraffe Pussy if you think that I spent 15 minutes doing this job. Giraffe Pussy's pretty high. They got long legs. Anyway. This really should be an advertisement for Plumber's Putty because that shit is so good that this drain has not leaked since 1931. Now, whether or not it was draining is another story because there was a big clot of hair in there, and honestly, it could have been hair from a person that's been long dead, and I mean, that's just a little weird, right? Letting me have access to something like that in 2024, I could clone that person using AI. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if they could do that yet. I'm going to have to call Zuckerberg later. Anyway, I went ahead and I put a toe touch drain in here. It's a bathtub only. I find these things to be kind of a pain in the ass when you have a shower involved because that little rubber piece kind of like makes it get stopped up and back up. But for a tub only, it's perfect. And this was all just redone. We just redid this stack. It was in another video, but I've decided to start breaking things up into smaller pieces. Now, as you can see, I got some guys doing some pipe work downstairs too. We got some 3-inch coming out there. And this is the finished product. I can't show you every single thing. I'm working inside of a radiator cover. But we tested out our overflow, tested out our drains. Everything on my end was working perfectly. There was a lot of grunting and moaning coming from downstairs. One guy got glue in his eye. Then they were complaining they couldn't get it together. So I wound up cutting out all their work at the end of the day, too. Anyway, see you on the next one.
All right, here's an update of where we are with that cast iron job. Basically, we got all our pipes in. We did some really funny angles to make this whole thing work, but we got a whole bunch of stuff up in that soffit. There's like steam lines. There's actually a radiator. If you see like this cover runs all the way across here, that is a fin tube steam radiator. So super weird. We had a lot of hang-ups on this, one of which being the lav drain that runs underneath the mud. We did manage to actually make a connection to that, and we're hoping that it's vented, but if anybody's ever worked in a house like this, you know that there's a good chance that's probably not the case. Replace the tub drain. That's probably the best out of all of them because we got a TY above, and that just vents separately. That's all above the toilet. We had to replace this whole stack all the way down into the crawl space. You can see I got a little critter guard here. That's going to work really good. But that's all the way into the crawl space. There's PVC down there, so we managed to get all of the cast out connected to the PVC. We had to reroute one kitchen drain, so we got a Studer vent up there, and that runs down into the crawl space, connects with everything we did. I mean, it's a beautiful kitchen, right? Look at that, oh, nice brickwork and stuff. Cool old house. Up above, we got a new tub waste on here. This one's just a toe touch, a lot better than what they had going on before. New faucet on this sink. It's got a little curtain. I've had the curtain kind of pulled up. You can put that down to the side. We were going to reroute this drain, but all the water lines run below, and it just would have been a really big pain in the ass. We probably would have broke something. Got the toilet on. We had to do a 4-inch flange. This is going to be a sticking point for me because it matches up exactly with the carpet where it was. I know that sounds funny, but this hole doesn't really match up with that hole, and that's a straight piece that's going to go in there. So we're going to see how that plays out at the end of it all. I have to put a new flush valve, a new ball cock on the thing. I got a valve on there right now. Basically everything's out. We put the radiator back, but that's where we were doing all of our piping, everything from behind there. Right, so it's pretty nice. We didn't have to destroy this beautiful wallpaper. Everything's decorated really nicely here. Down here in the haunted basement, maybe it's haunted, who knows. We got this little crawl space. You see that's where the PVC started. Actually, there's still a lot of cast iron in the house. There's copper too. This is a big ass house, and if you really want to get into it. But our work's all the way back there. There's that kitchen drain. You can see it coming down from above. There's the old haunted well. That's where the girl from The Ring crawls out of. And, you know, she was talking a whole bunch of shit about 7 days. And we're like, why not today? You know.
On today's episode of This Old House, the Toilet from Hell edition, we're going to be fixing this old toilet. Now, if you follow my page, it's got to be the third time that you've seen this toilet. A lot of people think that it's a different toilet in every video, but it's the same toilet. It just doesn't want to behave. And actually, these clips are split into 2 different days because one day we had to take the toilet off so that we could replace all the cast iron below. And then the next day is when I come back with the parts to actually fix the thing. Now, this whole time I'm working on this, literally nothing came apart easy. Everything just, had to be broken apart, cut with a Sawzall, chiseled out. I was really hoping that at some point the toilet would just break and, we could be done with it, but no such luck. Everything just kept working out. Even when I had to go and chisel the rubber out of the spud with a screwdriver, the thing still wouldn't break. Which just adds a whole nother layer of stress to the job because we keep getting further and further into it, knowing that, at some point it could. And then we're out a lot of time and money just to wind up changing the toilet anyway. That's the real reason that I want it to break early on if it's going to break. I feel like I have to explain that because people always think the worst of me. But anyway, I set this thing in plaster of Paris and I got a piece of 2-inch tubular on there. That piece of 2-inch tubular was $100. But it was worth every penny because it wound up crooked as hell and it didn't leak. I went ahead and put the old ball cock back on. Money, baby.